Hi everyone, welcome back to Fat Mama Physics. In this video, I am going to show you how to get your video uploaded onto Logger Pro 3 so you can do some video analysis for the motion of an object that is dropping. So if you're doing a relevant lab, this is what we're doing. A few tips along the way. When you're installing Logger Pro 3, if it prompts you to install QuickTime and you don't want QuickTime on your computer, well, I don't think you have a choice. I'm sorry. Logger Pro 3 needs QuickTime to be able to analyze videos for you. So please let that install on your computer. So that's the first thing that I'm going to recommend. So I'm going to open Logger Pro 3 and this is the screen that I get. And if you could just plot a bunch of data here and you can just generate a graph up to for your liking. But we want to analyze a motion and be able to track the motion for that and for Logger Pro 3 to graph that motion for us. Nice, hey? So how to do that? We're going to go to Insert and then go down to Movie. And I'm going to choose Find the File. It's actually in my Downloads folder and it's this guy here. And that's what you should see. You should see another box and your video here. So that's me, haha. Now, here's the thing. I had trouble doing this when I first took the video on my phone and I first uploaded onto Logger Pro 3. I had a black screen. So I read online it had something to do with a codecs problem. It doesn't have to do with the file type necessary because Logger Pro 3 likes MP4 files. I had an MP4 file, but it just didn't read it. So then I went online, looked at a few sources, and apparently you need it in a specific codecs. The website that I use for that to help me get the right codecs was this one over here. So here's the URL up here if you want to video the online convert.com/convert to MP4 with dashes in between. So that's what it looks like, and you can probably type this up here. I'm just going to put my cursor here so you can kind of see it, maybe magnified. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so the what I did here was I just dropped my file here, and then I didn't change anything. But the thing you want to double check and make sure you have is this codecs H.264 default. Okay, and everything I just kept the same. I put my file in, I started the conversion, it automatically downloads your file, and if it doesn't, you can probably prompt it to. And then I got my my new file, which is in my download folder, and no, it's interesting. It's a much smaller sized video file for some reason. Anyways, it worked, so it's probably something that is for you is good to know. Okay, now I can actually show you the analysis part. Just to do a quick, just make sure that you know what I'm covering in this video. All that I'm covering is how to track the motion and display what you want in terms of the graphs on Logger Pro 3. That's all I'm doing in this video. In terms of the detailed analyses, the slopes, the linear relationships, and all that stuff, and what all this means, I'm going to cover in a later video. And hopefully when you have a little bit more knowledge about what is displacement, velocity, acceleration, what are components, those kind of things, then you will be ready for that next video, okay? This is just for tracking and basic analyses, okay? All right, so here we have this video that I have. A few things I'm going to point your attention to. Notice that the toolbars are very tiny. So I'm going to hopefully put a magnifying function so that you can see exactly what it looks like. But the one I want to turn our attention is to these 3 dots and an arrow. It says disable video analysis. After you click it, you're going to see a whole bunch of toolbars on the side. I can't enlarge this anymore. It's just how my Surface deals with this program. So I'm so sorry about that. So you just take a look at what you have here. Select point, add point. You don't need to know what that is right now. I'm going to show you what all these mean, okay? Now, there's some functions down here that have that are related to your video. So for example, this is playing your video. Okay, so here that's me dropping a 1 kilogram weight, and there it goes. I can stop that video anytime I want. I can, so that's the stop function right there. Another useful function, oh, there's one here, rewind. That's just to go back. I think that just goes to the beginning of the video. So if I put my cursor here where the timeline is. If I press this button, it just goes to the front of the video, the beginning. Now, sometimes what you want to do, and this is really relevant, is that these two functions here, what they do is they move on to the next frame like you just see. And that's important because you might want to track your motion at a specific point. Now, for us, we are tracking the motion of this falling object. So I don't want to track this motion of this object until it has left my hand completely. And that's a split second it leaves my hand. That's the frame that I want. So it looks like, so I think this is when the mask actually left my hand. So I just played with these frame functions to choose the right frame. Now I am ready to start tracking my motion. So the idea behind tracking motion is that I am going to use a pointer, a dot, to track where my object is on this frame over time. And then as I track where this object is on my frame, that produces a time graph on Logger Pro 3. Of course, let me just do it, otherwise you won't see what that means. So how to do that? There's a few things you have to set up. First things first, you might be wondering why I have this meter stick here. This meter stick has to do with setting up the calibration of telling the video analysis software what is the distance associated with X amount of pixels. So to do that, if you go over to this toolbox here, it is this guy it looks like a yellow bar. And if you hover over it, it says set scale. I'm going to click it. And now I have a little cursor that looks like an X across. So I'm going to select my ruler, and how to select this 1 meter stick that I have is I'm going to pick one end of the meter stick, and ideally I want to pick the side of the meter stick that I have a little bit more control and assurance that I'm getting the exact 1 meter that I want. So let me do that here. Okay, so that's the tip right there. Okay, so I'm going to go there. That's the side of my meter stick. I'm going to drag it all the way up to the top, and it goes about there. Okay, so once I've selected that length, this will prompt me to tell the software how long that distance is. And this is 1 meter. You can choose 10 centimeters or 10 meters or whatever that is. Of course, the larger your measuring device is, or if it's 10 meters or whatever, the better it's going to be. But for our purposes, we have easy access to meter sticks, and that's what it is. I'm going to press OK. So that tells the software if relative to this meter stick, however my object falls is going to be associated with that distance. So here's another thing. This has to do with when you're setting up your video, as you're taking your video shot, is that you want to position your camera where all of this action here, this lovely action, is in the center of your video to avoid any sort of parallax error. And of course, you're always going to get parallax. You can't avoid it, but to try your best. The other thing I recommend is that in terms of the motion of your object, have it as close to your ruler as your meter stick as possible. I was a few centimeters off. This meter stick was against the wall. This object was probably a couple of centimeters off the wall. I mean, it's not going to be that significant, but still, it's good to have it as close to the calibration as possible. Okay, now getting to the more interesting stuff. Now, okay, we're almost there. The next thing I would like us to do, and I mean, it's not absolutely mandatory, especially if you're doing stuff like slope, that doesn't really matter. But for getting things all lined up properly, I like to set the origin. So there's that little thing I hover over it, it says set origin. So then I have this little cursor again, and I like to set the origin to where my object started falling. And I'm actually going to set it where I'm doing the tracking. And I'm going to track, because it's easier to track, I'm going to track the top of my object. Ideally, I would love to track the center of mass, or for this one, effectively it's a center of the object. But it's not possible. You can see later how it becomes very blurry. It's probably easier just to track the top. So I'm just going to put my origin where I'm going to do the tracking. So I'm going to put my origin there. And so as my object falls, it's going to go in the negative y-axis. And that's okay. I'm good with that. And probably what I want as well. Okay, so now I am ready to track my object. I know all of that just for this. Okay, so to do that, you're going to go here, and it has like a red dot, and it says add a point. Yes, we like that. I'll click it. Same little cursor shows, and then I'm going to choose one part of my object to track. I'm going to stick with that part of the object for every frame that I use. So I'm going to put this red dot here. So that's where I started my origin, or my origin is, and that's where I'm going to click my red dot. Actually, it's a blue dot. Never mind. But here's the interesting part. Notice after I click it, then my video automatically moves to the next frame. You almost notice that the dots on the graph start to populate. Okay, so I'm just going to keep doing this for a few frames until I get a few more dots. Okay, so I'm going to probably put this on a little fast play here. This is not easy because it's so hard to see. Okay, so I think it was there. I'm not going to be perfect. But it's there, I think. Yeah, I think. And this is where it gets blurry. So you have a camera with more frames per second. Might be helpful. Or might not. Might move too fast anyways. Okay, so I'm tracking this. And my tracking is going to get rougher and rougher as this moves downwards. Of course, it's accelerating, right? Okay, I have no idea what that is anymore. This is all going to be very rough. A lot of error to talk about in this video. Okay, so this is the other part I want to talk about, is that when the object hits the bottom, the ground, it experiences a massive deceleration that is not due to the acceleration due to gravity. If you had no idea what I'm talking about, basically what I want to tell you is that don't stop the tracking process because you're no longer getting the data that you want. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there because I'm not sure whether or not that mass hit the bottom, hit the floor, or actually that's my landing pad. It's an old textbook. So yeah, so I'm going to stop tracking there. How to move this to the back so you can see your graph. You're going to right click, and then it says here move to the back. Okay, you can probably do it with your graph, so let's try that. Right click, move to the back, and now I see my video again. So move that to the back, I can now see my graph. Ooh, look at that! Isn't that so pretty? The graph looks so nice. It's the beauty of Logger Pro 3. Okay, sorry, I digress. The things I want to show you are, notice on the left side you have a automatically generated table by Logger Pro 3 based on your tracking process. It tells you the meters and exactly which position it was. So that's for X and Y. Not sure what that is. X, think of it as like a horizontal distance relative to the origin over time. And then Y, think of that as the distance relative to the origin over time in the vertical direction. So that's just where our object is kind of moving down over time. And this notice my x-axis is time. So that's why you're seeing the dots kind of moving in this nice little parabola. That's because it's going down further over time. More on this later when we talk more about kinematics and 1D projectile motion. Okay, so then the other two things here is x velocity, y velocity. If you don't have to know what they mean right now, if you don't know, if you have no idea, but they're just has to do with speed. Okay, that's all you need to know. And also the fact that they are available for you to use when you start to do more analysis with this particular project. Okay, now I want to turn your attention to the left side, so the y-axis. So here I can display two types of graphs with the red and the blue dots. I can change what I want to display. So all I need to do is just to click it. So that's left click it. So I just click it, okay? Left click it, and then I can just show X. I can just show Y. And you might be wondering, why is X all everywhere? And that's just to do with the scale. The scale is only from 0 to negative 0.02. So if I choose to, I can choose to display both. Again, I'm going to click it, and then I'm going to go to, hey, you can do show all of it. Well, let's go to more, and then you can check off the boxes here of what you want to show. So I can go back and show X and Y again, just like that. And I'm going to go, okay, and there you go. I got exactly what I had before. I can also choose to show the X velocity data. And you're like, oh, that's crappy data. No, just double check the axes here. This is negative 0.10 to 0.05. I can choose to show the y velocity. Look at that very nice straight line, except at the end where it kind of is not straight. There's significance to that. We talk about that later. And I can show all of the above, okay? And I can choose to show just some things that I want. Maybe I just want the X and Y. Maybe I just want the Y, the Y components of, or anyways, you don't know what a component is yet, maybe, or I can choose to show those, and then I get this. Okay, so that's a thing you can play with. At this point, if you have not done any kinematics, that's all you probably need to know for now, just to get it set up. Once you learn more kinematics, then you can definitely probably do more with this project. To save it, you just go File, Save As, and I'm going to save this on my desktop. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to name this 1D projectile motion. Or freefall, whatever you like. Anyways, freefall. So I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to go to my desktop, and that is it right there. And I actually saved the video in the same place, okay? So I'm going to move this all the way here. Okay, so that's kind of it. You don't need to know that. So that's how you want to set this up, okay? So then we will come back, if you don't have it, once we do more kinematics, we can come back to this and do more work with this project, okay? So, good luck with collecting your data, and hopefully you'll be able to get through this just like I did. Wish you good luck. Thank you for watching this video. Fan Mama Physics, signing out.